Welcome to the Life on Your Terms podcast with me, your host, Tracy Liv Howard. My intention is that each episode helps you remember who you are and serves to inspire and support you to reach your most important goals and live life on your terms. Let's get into today's episode. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about countless examples of where I find myself and my clients sharing a story, convinced that it's true, and what we've uncovered is that no, it's absolutely not true, and how the stories that you tell yourself might be keeping you trapped in an illusion that are keeping you from living your life, being on your terms, having everything that you're wanting and more, and what to do about it. So a few days ago, I was on a call with someone who's not my client, but I've known him for years, and he's fairly close to retirement. And we're just chatting, so I'm not coaching, but I hear him say the phrase, in 5 years, I'm going to retire. So I'm going to do this work for 5 more years, and then I'm going to go with my band and play music all over the world and live my best life. And I was looking at him, and I said, why 5 years? And he said, well, I need the finances. So financially, I want to put this money behind me. And I said, do you need the money? And he paused and he said, no, if I really was honest, probably not. And I looked at him, I said, you're telling yourself a story that you need to work for 5 more years. And if you believe that story, you're going to get up every single day. You're going to do work you do not want, you're not passionate about anymore. That's keeping you from the time freedom that you're wanting to have for your life. I said, it's an illusion. You're living in an illusion that that's what you need to do. And actually, if you look to the right over there, you could be off playing your music on a beautiful Caribbean island or in Europe, and all is well. And all is fine. You're happier than ever. And from my side, I think what I used to find hard, but is now easy for me, is the guts and the courage to challenge someone on their story, to at least think about it. And what's so hard about this is not even questioning or challenging the story. It's looking someone in the eyes who's charismatic. I mean, this person I was talking to has huge financial success. Multi, 8-figure, 9-figure success. And the reason why he's so successful on paper is he's charismatic. He's charming. He can convince someone of anything. He can passionately argue something. He is phenomenal at, getting what he wants. And the danger, and what I said to him, the danger is that you're going to use that same charisma and charm and ability to convince yourself of something to yourself. You are convincing yourself that you've got to do this. And I said, and from where I sit, no, you don't. I said, I just want to also add that no, you don't. You can do something else. And for you as a listener, I want you to do this in your life. You do not need to take at face value the story that you're telling yourself. Or, of course, the story that society has given you, or your family, or your religion, or whatever. Whatever comes from that energy, whether it's a structure, a practice, a rule-based system, a philosophy, a religion, it is just made up rules and stories from somewhere else. And I define life on your terms. This is how I define it. I define it as acting on your truth. To live life on your terms means that this individual is acting on their truth. Life on your terms is behavioral. It is all about growth and progress. It's ascension. And when your truth unfolds, you act. When your truth unfolds, you act. And it could look like being completely hypocritical, because one day you're doing something, the next day you're not. What happened? In the energy world, you got to hit an awareness, a truth. and it got you to behaviorally pivot. I can see this beautiful person in my mind, and I can see them letting it all go and actually living now on their terms and not waiting 5 years. If that truth was strong enough, and if they had the energy that had cleared their system, if that truth could go through them, they could act on it right now. But that's for another episode. I just want to talk about the stories and the power of the stories that we're telling ourselves. I actually coach extremely charismatic, convincing, smart, passionate people. You know, these are really qualities in conscientiousness as well, really qualities that kind of create that outer success, right? However, the danger is that they could bring these same qualities into their own life. And I know this because I do it to myself. I am extremely charming, convincing, conscientious. I have an ability to really convince myself of something. And what I've learned and practiced over decades is that if I'm going to honestly say something to myself, a story, then I really need to run it through my system and ask, is this really true for me? Is what I'm saying to myself actually true? Let me share a few examples. I remember I was applying for jobs when I got out of undergrad in 2008, which is the bottom of the recession, in the 2008 recession. And the story, the narrative going on everywhere is there are no jobs and it's highly competitive if you are searching for a job. Well, I rolled up my sleeves and I said, I'm not believing that. And I relentlessly applied for jobs in Washington, D.C., relentlessly applied for jobs. And I ended up beating a master's degree holder for an admin assistant job at 22 years old. I healed an eating disorder because I didn't believe the story that you can't heal an eating disorder or it's going to, be with you forever. I said, I don't believe that. That's not the story that I want. I chose to not believe the story that long distance relationships don't work. And I ended up, moving to London, and I've been married for almost 7 years to my husband. I am so fiercely aware of what comes into my mind as something that I believe is true for me. And that's going to be very different from what you're going to believe. And so I also want to say we need to stop trying to convince other people of the stories that we believe. Whatever is true for us, we hold that to ourselves. All we can do is put out our truth, put out what we feel, what we believe, but then let it go. Practice non-attachment. I can put out there to this beautiful person I spoke to that I'm not buying the story, but if it's true for him, if he wants to work for 5 years to make the money, great. But don't say you have to. Yeah. And you as a listener, what you can honestly do with this today, and this is going to take a whole new level of your own awareness and growth, is that you stand guard at the gate of your mind, that you stand guard and you observe and you watch yourself saying a story to yourself. And I want you to please don't believe it's true yet. Don't believe it's true. Imagine the opposite was true. Imagine that there are 3 or 5 or 10 other possibilities and that this is not the one absolute truth. That is where your life will change forever. Forever. That you believe something that's more pure and true and that you decide what you're going to tell yourself. And is it good for me or not? You can have this filter of, what if this story is different? Would that be better for me to act on? Would that be more aligned in my truth? And what this is going to do is going to bring you out of illusions or habits and behaviors you've been living in and bring you to another place of yourself. You're going to become even better. And so I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it's getting you to think about stories and their power on our actions, their power on us creating our life and our destiny, and to maybe pick one story that is not great, that's something you've been struggling with, a story that you don't like. Let's question it. That's your homework for today. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode. A big thank you for listening to this episode. I truly hope you got what you needed. If you want to get more from me each week, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episodes or bonus content. To be notified of new episodes, workshop opportunities, and more, subscribe to my email list by heading to the link in this episode description. I'm wishing you joy, happiness, and love.